Let's start in Europe and Spain's death toll, which has passed 18,000 people. There is, however, some promising news because the rise in new infections has dropped to its lowest level since the nationwide lockdown there came into force last month. At its peak at the beginning of April, the daily death toll in Spain was close to 1,000. It has since fallen, with 567 deaths reported on Tuesday. The Spanish Prime Minister is saying that his country is still far from victory. Guy Hedgecoe is in Madrid for us, where the lockdown measures have been eased very slightly.
We've seen the return to work of non-essential workers, people in the construction sector or manufacturing and other heavy industries since yesterday. As of today, the whole country has now finished its Easter holiday. So we're seeing this at the impact of that return to work. It has been criticised by some members of the opposition who say it's a risky move, it's even reckless. But Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has insisted that this decision has been taken, with full caution, and that the remainder of that lockdown, which has been in place for the last 4 weeks or so, is going to remain there, is going to continue at least for another couple of weeks, probably more, and it's going to be very tightly policed.
So that's Guy Hedgecoe with the situation in Spain. Let's turn to Italy now. It does remain the worst hit country in Europe. More than 20,000 people have died there, but fewer people are dying each day now. And the number of patients in intensive care has dropped for 10 days in a row. The country remains in lockdown, but certain shops are allowed to reopen, and they include booksellers, stationery shops, also shops selling baby clothes. Mark Lowen reports from Rome.
A tiny step towards unlocking Italy. Camilla Cocchi's baby shop reopening today after 5 weeks as this country dips its toe back into normal life. A limited experiment to see how Italians react, with new rules on hygiene and limiting numbers inside.
We're really glad, really excited. Of course, it's not a normal times, so we are worried at the same time, but we have to work. We have bills to pay, we have rents to pay, we have wages to pay. Leaving your business that you started is like leaving your baby.
Customers too are adapting, welcoming a reward, but with apprehension.
I feel strange more for them, for the babies, for my children, but we have to be happy and somehow brave.
I'm really pleased, says 8-year-old Irena, because I haven't been out since the 4th of March. I'm emotional.
Italy found itself as the testing ground for the rest of the world for how to respond to this outbreak and how to lock down a country. And now, once again, it's an experiment of how to ease those restrictions. The hope here is that it doesn't become an example of reopening too soon and the virus spiking again. It is a risk that this country is taking.
Well, thanks to Mark there. Well, computer production and also paper manufacturing have also been allowed to restart. Jean McKenzie is also in Rome.
Factories have been putting a lot of pressure on the government to allow them to restart. The government has said it will look over the next couple of weeks to see if some factories could reopen, but it's going to be led by the health situation. And in fact, today they've introduced even stricter restrictions on people coming into the country from abroad. So you can now only travel into Italy for health or for work reasons, and people coming into the country will have their temperatures checked before they get onto planes. And once they arrive, they'll have to go into quarantine for 2 weeks, regardless of whether or not they've got symptoms. This is really Italy now trying to protect itself from the rest of the world.
Now, interestingly, the restrictions in Italy are differing from region to region, with some areas like Lombardy in the north, the epicentre of the country's crisis, deciding to keep shops shut. So not a uniform picture there. The European Commission is urging EU countries to coordinate any plans to gradually ease restrictions. They're warning that even phased measures will lead to a corresponding increase in new cases. Around the continent, Denmark plans to ease its lockdown faster than originally planned and plans to reopen schools for younger children. Poland says that it will gradually lift restrictions on its economy from Sunday, and Austria, which was one of the first countries in Europe to impose a strict lockdown, is also now allowing places like garden centres, hardware stores and also small shops to reopen. Bethany Bell is in Vienna.
Shoppers have cautiously welcomed the move.
I hope that it will go well and that the number of cases won't jump up again. but it's good to do something to help the economy.
I think it's good. You have to stay at home and there's plenty to do in the garden.
Hopefully people will stick to the rules so we can stimulate the economy.
Things may be easing up a bit here slightly, but there's strict safety rules when it comes to shopping. You can't go inside a shop unless you're wearing a basic face mask like this, covering your nose and mouth. And once you're inside a shop, you have to keep your distance.